What is going on, my Guardian gamers? It is I, Birdman, back with another Destiny 2 build, and today I'm going to be doing an update for my HOARFROST Salvation's Grip Stasis Titan. This is actually a build that has only gotten better with time, not only just because of just like ability flows and stuff like that, but also updates to Stasis with the final shape. Now, before we get into the video, I know you can follow me over on YouTube and Twitter at Birdman778. Give a thumbs up on this video. Let me know something you're interested in seeing down below, whether it's Titan, Hunter, or Warlock. Subscribe, become a member, and also make sure you're checking out my Max Roll page. I'm actually now contributing with Max Roll. Me and a couple other creators have started a Destiny 2 branch with them, so check out all the different builds and setups that we have listed over there, and this one will be located over there as well. Now, let's jump right on into the setup. Now, we always like to start off with the exotic armor piece for this setup, and that's going to be the HOARFROST Z. It reads Glacial Fortification. While you have Stasis super equipped, your barricade becomes a wall of Stasis crystals that slows nearby targets when created. Standing behind that barricade will grant you nearby allies increased weapon reload speed, stability, and range. Now, I really just love this for the consistent, just like great synergy it has with Stasis Titan. All around with the fragments and everything we have available for it. Just being able to create like a giant wall of stasis crystals that I can then just nuke on enemies is absolutely insane, and has become one of my favorite setups in the game. When it comes to the subclass and everything we're going to be using for this setup, obviously we have to use Glacial Quake, but this is actually a super solid exotic. Definitely use this as much as you can, especially for the fact that with some of the armor mods and stuff we have, we'll be having high uptime on this, so go ham, have fun. Abilities, you got to do Rally Barricade for this, but also you have to use Shiver Strike as well. Shiver Strike has definitely gotten better with the changes that they did with the final shape to it, kind of like fixed a bunch of issues with it, but you're mainly going to be using your charged melee for a different part of this build that we'll talk about with our aspects. For the grenade, Glacial Grenade is the definite best choice, a grenade that creates a wall of stasis crystals that block damage and freeze targets. This wall can be shattered for damage. Obviously, really solid for the fact that it's able to just like block out enemies, especially kind of do some like zoning and healing and stuff like that, but also the fact you can just shoot it and then it just like nukes everyone around you. I absolutely love it. For our aspects, we're going to be running Tectonic Harvest first, and this actually has had a little bit of a change with the updates that they did to Stasis in the final shape. Let's read it. Shattering a stasis crystal or frozen target creates a stasis shard. This shard grants melee energy when picked up by you or your allies. And now the new part of it, while Tectonic Harvest is equipped, picking up a stasis shard grants stacks of frost armor. Now let's really quick talk about frost armor if you're not familiar with it right now. You are fortified by layers of durable stasis matter, reducing incoming damage. Frost armor damage resistance grows stronger as you gain additional stacks. Now, you can get a base up to 5 stacks of this, so it's going to provide a good amount of damage reduction. I believe it's actually up to 25% with that, so really nice just for all around, you know, damage reduction, stuff like that. And it's just really nice for the fact that just blowing up all the stasis crystals we're going to create with our HOARFROST, with our Salvation's Grip, and our next aspect, and also our Glacial Grenade will constantly feed this. Now let's talk about that next aspect, Howl of the Storm. While sliding, activate your charged melee ability to launch a wave of stasis energy forward that freezes targets and creates a stasis crystal. This is just really solid for consistent creation of those stasis crystals. One we're going to talk about here in a second with our fragments, how that helps feed into it, but also just constantly be able to create more crystals for frost armor and also freezing targets, and nuking around them is just awesome. Now with our fragments, first up, we're going to go with Whisper of Refraction. Defeating slow to frozen targets grants your class ability energy. Obvious, really good one to have because it's going to feed into our HOARFROST, meaning that we're going to have way more of those stasis walls to create. Whisper of Shard. Shattering a stasis crystal temporarily boosts your grenade recharge rate. Shattering additional stasis crystals increases the duration of this benefit. Really nice for just kind of feeding into our grenade as much as humanly possible, meaning that we have more of those glacial grenades to throw around. Now let's talk about Whisper of Torment. You gain grenade energy each time you take damage from your targets. That used to be like the old effect from it, if I believe so. I didn't really ever use it because I was like, why do I need grenade energy for that? But now it adds onto it. Having frost armor increases the amount of energy gained. You get so much grenade energy from Whisper of Torment and Whisper of Shards combined together. It is insane. I legitimately just constantly have frost armor up, so any damage I take is just instantly feeding my grenade, meaning that I am just always throwing stasis grenades around. And then finally, Whisper of Rending. This one's more of like a my choice thing, just because I like how it feeds into the overall ability flow. Primary ammo weapons do increase damage to stasis crystals and frozen targets, meaning I barely have to put any damage on stasis crystals with my weapon for them to then explode and just kind of detonate everyone around me. I just think this is a really good, just kind of overall flow choice to the build. Now let's talk about some weapons that you need to be using for the setup. First up, let's go with the Exotic Salvation's Grip. I have always loved this grenade launcher. It is really freaking awesome. It is really slept on. First up, its intrinsic trait reads, hold to charge, release to fire. This weapon charge projectiles create a pattern of stasis crystals on impact and freeze nearby targets. Essentially going to create kind of like a triangle worth of stasis crystals in front of you that you can then shoot again, and they're going to detonate them all. Let's move on to that shatter shot, kind of explaining that. This weapon's uncharged projectile deals bonus damage to stasis crystals and frozen targets, rapidly destroying stasis crystals. Reloads this weapon from reserves, meaning as long as I'm throwing stasis crystals and shooting them, I never really have to reload this. It is really freaking awesome. It does a whole lot of damage to bosses as well. I just really enjoy this weapon. Now for like my primary, I've been running the prolonged engagement. You are able to get this, I believe, from Vanguard still, but at the same time, it's a really just solid all-around weapon. It's got headstone on it. Pretty much any weapon with headstone I would recommend, just for the fact that those precision final blows will create another stasis crystal for you, feeding into everything that we got going on with this build. Also running the Indebted Kindness arc sidearm, because those rocket that it shoots out is really effective against stasis crystals, and also it's a really solid weapon for this season since it's able to take out unstoppable champions. Now let's talk about our armor and mods we're going to be using for this setup. First up, on our helmet, I recommend a harmonic siphon just so you get those orbs of power with your stasis weapon final blows. A dynamo so that whenever you are using your class ability in your targets, you're going to get some more super cooldown, which should be pretty consistent with the HOARFROST. And then a heavy ammo finder, meaning that I'm going to constantly have ammo for my Salvation's Grip. On our arms, a boltering detonation's really solid so that whenever I damage targets with my grenade, my glacial grenade, I'm going to get some class ability energy back, as well as a momentum transfer so that when I do the same thing with my grenade, I'm going to get some more melee cooldown, meaning I can use that Howl the Storm more often. And then I also just have a stasis loader just for, again, overall flow and just like my choice with the build. Chest piece is always just going to be resistance mods that you need at that time, so I just run just like one of the 3 light subclasses just to kind of cover my bases there. On our legs, I run a recuperation so that whenever I pick up an orb of power, I'm going to get some health back. I'm running an elemental charge on this so that whenever I pick up a stasis crystal, I have an escalating chance to get an armor charge, which is then going to feed into our stasis weapon surge, meaning I'm getting a 10% boost to my stasis weapons. And then on my Titan mark, I'm going to be running a time dilation so that I have a little bit longer time on those stasis charges. A Reaper so that whenever I activate my barricade, I'm going to get an orb of power after my next kill with it. And then also a Bomber, meaning whenever I use that class ability in your targets, I'm going to get some grenade energy back. Now, when it comes to our artifact, we're just going to kind of start in the first column. It's really nice to have that unstoppable sidearm going on with our Indebted Kindness, and then also the Barrier Champion for our submachine gun. Again, the Stasis is really great against Unstoppable and Overload, so this is a great way to kind of cover my bases and make sure I have barriers on there as well. In the second column, Overcharged Armory, since I'm using Indebted Kindness, it's going to give it an overcharged trait. Elemental Charge is going to bring the cost of that down to 1 rather than 3, so it's really helpful for this setup. Creeping Chill, since I'm using mainly Stasis weapons, it's going to create a burst of slow whenever I defeat targets with slowed or frozen debuffs on them. And then finally, Shield Crush, while I have that frozen armor going on, my melee recharges faster and deals increased damage, so that's just a great way to constantly keep up that Howl the Storm. Now, when it comes to like champions and how you're going to deal with each one of those, again, Barrier, I'm going to mainly use that Indebted Kindness, so it's going to work great against it. Do you know you can freeze barrier champions before they put up their bubble? Essentially, it just kind of comes up to you is like how fast you can kill them within that time before they are going to pop that bubble, but at least know this is going to kind of cover your bases there. For Unstoppables, again, we're just going to use Shatter effects from Stasis are great for it, or that Indebted Kindness. And then finally for Overloads, slow effects from pretty much anything we do is going to stun them as well. Thanks so much for watching the video. I hope you guys really enjoyed. Again, make sure you're checking out my Max Roll page where I'm going to have this entire setup shown. And also just check out all the awesome creators on there, Chadley99, Shield Maiden, Squirrely Dan, and Chunky. We've all been working really hard on that site, so any love you show is always appreciated. But make sure you're just giving a thumbs up on this video. Let me know some of you're interested in seeing down below, whether it's Titan, Hunter, or Warlock. Subscribe and become a member. Thanks so much, and I hope you guys have a great night, day, whatever it may be.